Hello everyone. Hello. Hi. Hi Soph89. We'll just wait for some people to join. So welcome tonight. This is my second week. Hello Dan White, Gem Mac, 7 and Susie Fitz. Selena. Hi. So nice to have you here. Kinsey, hello. Marianne. Susie, yeah, great. Hi. So I'm loving all the waves. So yeah, let's see who joins us tonight. So this is going to be another really deep dive into the sacral chakra. I'm well, thank you, Dan, for asking. Barbara, welcome. Richard, welcome. So yeah, it's amazing to have you join me late at night because I'm normally falling asleep at this time. So it's great to have you, and you guys keep me like energized for the next hour. Hi Isabel. So I'm gonna ask you all, were you here last week for the live or did you watch the replay? So let's get some interaction going on the feed. You can tell me if you were here for the root chakra, because that was a really important one. Let me know if you've watched the root chakra live or the replay. So yeah, you were here live, Susie. Yeah. And Janie was here for the live last week. Dan watched the replay. Soph89 was here and she loved it. Thank you. Yeah, it was really intense and I got some great feedback after that live. Dee, you were here for the live last week. That's amazing. Isabel, you were here for the live. That's fantastic. So last week was the root. So that's our foundational pillar. Barbara watched the replay. That's fab. Perfect. The foundation is the root, okay? It's where we need to take our attention. And as I explained, like when we do this work and we learn about chakras and we realize how connected we get through our third eye and our crown, we kind of want to jump straight there and try and start to do the psychic work from there. But actually we need to make sure that our roots are really, really strong. And as we talked about last week, the earth center, the root center, I probably didn't say this, but it's associated to the color red. And it's, as I said, it's linked to our ancestors and our most fundamental beliefs. So we've got those generational beliefs as well that come through our line. And we're quite subconscious to them. But when we bring awareness, we can start to ask ourselves, why do I think that way? Why do I respond that way? Is it necessarily true? And what other way can I see things? How can I change the way I feel, see things that is more aligned to my authentic path? So it's really important that we go back to the roots and do the healing work there. Because if we don't, it's like trying to build a tower on sinking sand. Those roots are so fundamental to our identity that they need to be super, super strong to help us withstand and withhold energy and also truly know ourselves. When you start to do psychic or spiritual work, lots of things can open up and knock you off center. And if you're not fully in alignment with who you really are, knowing who you are and what you feel, then things can get a little bit hectic up there when it comes to all the mystic stuff. So what insights or awareness or breakthroughs did you have? Maybe it was through the questions last week, or maybe it was after the live and you started to think about stuff. I would love to know if anybody had anything come up for them. I know some people messaged me personally, but if anyone's here now, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I know Isabel messaged me saying she felt really energized. Her and her partner watched it together, and I don't think she slept. They didn't get much they didn't get much sleep, but not in the sense that you might think. They were both really energized by it, and she was asking me why that might be. And the root chakra is an area where our kundalini energy is stored. So it can, when you start to wake up to things like this, it can really shake up the system. It can just be so thought-provoking that your mind starts to race and you get so excited about the possibilities of exploring yourself and getting to know yourself more, and opening up the spiritual centers as well, and the energy that can be brought into the body with that. So if anybody else had any experiences, I'd love to hear them. So Soph89 says, felt enlightenment. I'd love to know, was it the questions? Was it, did you guys get anything from the questions that I prompted you to ask yourselves? Because we're going to do more of that tonight. Can't see anybody writing anything else. Okay. So says, yes, from the questions. I also made lots of notes. Okay, amazing. Good for you, so if you're really getting into it. And Dan says, yes, the questions were helpful for me. Janie says, some really lovely visualizations during the meditation. Okay, so the meditation was really nice, actually. The meditation was about, really, it's learning. Kelly says, after the visualization, I found my son's behaviour changed the following morning to more positive. That's amazing. So quite often they do say, Dan says she's looking forward to tonight, struggles with the sacral chakra. Sometimes they do say you will notice the kids. Sorry, Barbara. It made me think whether I really want this idea of a dream life, or if it would be better to make a small adjustments to the life I had now, in the sense of adjusting my perception. Well, I would say, obviously, it's whatever feels right to you, but the dream life could be, I don't know, X amount of years in the future. So do you want to wait without making any changes for that time to come? Or is making those changes to yourself getting you to that dream life? Is your dream life calling back to you to say, make these changes? You know, is your visual ideal self the exact same person as you are today, or has that person evolved into something new? So the sacral chakra really is all about the inner child. And when we work on the root, it is about reparenting the self. And as we're saying about the children, our children can be mirrors to us, and the ripple effect that we have in our energetic line and our invisible threads to them can be profound. So I know in homeopathy, if a mother takes her child to have a homeopathic remedy, the homeopath will treat the mother first, because it's the mother's vibrational energy sometimes that the child can be responding to. So if you do notice changes in your children, it's because the changes are happening in you. And if we can realize, you know, we've brought in generational trauma and generational gifts as well, but if we realize we've brought in generational trauma that we can prevent going forward into our generations and their generations to come. So it is about doing the healing work now and thinking about the changes you can make, which will have the effect. It will have the DNA gene effect on your lineage. Stratori Phoenix, good morning from Australia. Good morning. So the sacral chakra is the second chakra. So it's just below the navel. And it's said to be associated with the colour orange. And it's said to be the seat of our creativity, our abundance and flow, and our inner child. It's said to be linked to the Holy Grail. So the Holy Grail is depicted as a vessel, as a cup, and it can be like associated to our kind of reproductive system. And the Holy Grail serves the divine. So there's a gorgeous mythological story about Parsifal and the Holy Grail, and different versions of the Holy Grail story, Mary Magdalene. But the question to ask the Holy Grail is, who doth the cup serve? And the cup serves the divine and the divine within us. It's for us to be of service. It's to also give and receive that divine love equally. So we have to give it, but we also have to receive it. And there can be so many blocks around receiving, especially as women, but also giving. There can just be blocks there. And it's blocks to our abundance because we form barriers. So the physiological age range for the root is said to be, in some text, it's 0 to 7. And then the sacral is 7 to 14. So 0 to 7, we are basically kids who are boisterous, and we're just like, yes, no. We go off our desires. I want that. I don't want that. That's how we kind of, a child's minds work. It's just impulsive, it's reactive, and it's yes or no, tantrum or happy. Our emotional senses haven't quite fully formed properly yet, but when we get into that sacral chakra development from 7 onwards, we are seeing ourselves reflected back to us in the eyes of others. So it's more about the group collective rather than, say, the individual drives and also attached to mother, let's say, primary caregiver for safety. It's kind of going outside of that scope, going into the realms of groups, friends, where do I belong, music, school, that kind of thing. But we're seeing ourselves, are we accepted here? Do we belong here? Am I okay? Do I conform? Do I fit in? Do I not fit in? Am I outside the group, or am I inside the group? Inside the group is much safer. So what do I need to do to stay inside the group? How do I need to bend myself? And what boundaries am I allowed or not allowed to have? When should I be saying yes? Is it okay for me to say no? Is it okay for me to express my likes and dislikes? All of those things are being formed in our sacral chakra. So we've moved on from individuation, and now we're going into kind of separation, but wanting to belong into a group. And this is where boundaries can be really, really dismantled or really kind of solidified. If you think about your experience between 7 to 14, type a word that sums up your experience between 7 to 14. It can be really positive and amazing experiences for you, but just try and think of a word or a couple of words that sum up your experiences between those ages of 7 to 14. What can happen here is if we think about it in terms of archetypes. So think about what discipline, think about what archetype, what energy archetype was playing out. So for me, I was, potentially the people pleaser, but when that wasn't working, I was the rebel. So these archetypes can flip. At 7, you're desperate to get your needs met. D says, home, happy place, school, shit. Yeah. So that's really interesting, D. So you could really tap into that with the questions that I'm going to ask soon to see how that's had an effect on you stepping outside of a boundary, of a comfort zone. And Kira says, insecurity, not feeling grounded in my body, people pleaser, didn't know how to say no for fear of rejection. So definitely a people person. And Satori, abandonment. Yeah. One of the biggest emotions, I think, really blocks, Story says, bullying for being different, blocks us in our sacral chakra when we think about our life purpose and wanting to live our life purpose. You know, if we feel we're on a bit of a soul mission, if you like, we want to be of service, but it goes against the grain, doesn't it? Gemma says, stable home life, didn't want to conform or fit in. It can go against the grain from, you know, going to school, having a job, you know, just making money and having kids and doing all the normal societal things. When we want to step out of that and follow our life purpose, it doesn't necessarily fit in with what we've been brought up to believe we should do. So conforming in a different way, dancing to your own tune, can feel very, very, you feel so vulnerable doing that. And one of the biggest emotions that will always hold you back from expressing yourself is shame. Who here has experienced shame, and do you feel it's held you back? Just say yes or no. Sophie says yes. Kira says yes. Janie says yes. Nita says yes. Yes, Gemma. Kelly, yes. Satori, yes. Yeah, it is. It's the biggest thing that holds us back. It's such a low, dense, heavy vibration of shame that, and Dee says no, I love that nobody wants to expose themselves because they can be shamed. And shame, if you've experienced the emotion shame, it doesn't hit you here, it hits you there in the sacral. You can feel it in a different part of your body. You can feel shame. It goes deeper than the solar plexus, than the ego. Criticism, yeah, you can feel it here. But shame, it goes right down into like the reproduction area and the blocks to kind of being vulnerable, expressing yourself, opening yourself up. It's a big barrier towards being our true selves. So shame can really hold us back from what it is that we want to do. And generally we have had experiences that have been painful to us as a child. And when we look back, or maybe if we say, oh, this happened to me as a child, and a sibling might say it wasn't that bad. But as a child, it felt that bad. It felt that bad that your brain and nervous system kicked in and stored it and said, I'm going to look out for that. I'm not feeling that again. I'm going to look out for the signs and the cues that whenever that's going to happen, I'm going to stop it from happening. And that's always going to stay in your nervous system until you recognize it as being a stored memory and a blocked emotion, and you can do something about it. So when you think about healing the inner child, if you want to kind of get yourselves into a slightly meditative state, and you can put your hands on your sacral chakra, so it's just below your belly button. And you can take some nice deep belly breaths in. And you can imagine your belly just kind of like being like a balloon that goes up and down as you breathe in and out. And as you allow your belly to breathe in and out, like a nice soft balloon, a nice cushion if you like, feel it as a sense of giving yourself a bit of a warm hug. And just tune in, and maybe from last week's session, you can remember bringing in your spiritual father on your right hand side and getting a sense of his energy next to you in a loving, kind way. And maybe puts a gentle hand on your shoulder. And then you can imagine your spiritual mother stepping next to you on your left with her nurturing way, placing a soft hand on your shoulder. And then I want you to imagine another spirit guide that steps behind you and places two hands on your back. And just notice if this guide is male or female. But this guide, this spiritual guide, allows energy to flow through you in a giving way. And then in front of you, I want you to imagine your fourth spiritual guide. You can be kneeling or standing or sitting in front of you with their arms out, receiving. And this energy is your receiving. So there's a flow now that flows through your body from back to front. And just as you sit in that kind of 4-pillar energy, if you like, giving, receiving, spiritual father and mother, I just want you to imagine placing your hands on your sacral. And just imagining the cup of the Holy Grail that resides there. And as I said earlier, the question for the Holy Grail is, who doth the cup serve? And we know it serves you, it serves the divine, it helps you be of service. The giving, the receiving, the abundance, the flow, the creativity, the emotional fullness and joy of life. And I just want you to say to yourself or say out loud, I'm here to serve the divine. And I'm here to be of service. And if you can imagine the chalice or the cup or a vessel filling up with water, with flowing energy, just want you to tune in and just feel or ask the Holy Grail, ask your sacral chakra. Doesn't matter if you're male, female or non-binary. Just ask that energy center, how am I here to serve? How can I be of service? What are my true gifts that I'm here to share? Maybe this is a good time to write this down, whatever thoughts or feelings or words come to you. Asking your Holy Grail, how can I be of service? Who am I here to serve? How can I share my divine gifts with the world? Could be one word that you receive. It could be a whole host of words. But when you feel ready, just keep feeling the fullness in the sacral chakra. You can keep your guides there, or you can imagine them just stepping to the side. And when you feel ready, I'd love to know in the comments what words you got or what came up for you during that. So it says healing, love, peace. And do you feel that's part of your purpose? So Infinity Light said healer, the word that came up for me. And Statori says you already know. And do you guys feel this is part of your divine service to the world? So says, yes, I do feel it is. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Elemental Heal says love. Yeah. And do you feel that that is part of your service? Infinity Light says, I'm a Reiki practitioner and I feel like this is my destiny. Yeah. Satori says, I'm here to help and heal. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, well done. That's really, really good. And, you know, it's just these words, it's just these emotional words, like, you know, one of the things that Kelly says you're already doing it, yeah, is compassion, you know, and I feel that is a gift that I have, and that is what I can deliver to the world, and whoever is in my world, I can deliver that in all situations. It doesn't have to be when I'm in work. In fact, you know, that's just one tiny fraction of where my service can be delivered. Gemma says, lead, heal, support others on their divine journey. Kira says, healing through mediumship and energy work. Amazing. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So remember the visualization of the Holy Grail. See that cup, that chalice, that fullness within you. And, you know, sometimes we find it hard to give and receive in equal measures, especially if we are holding on to emotions where we feel we feel too vulnerable sometimes to receive compliments, to receive gifts, to receive kindness from others, to allow ourselves to be vulnerable in relationships. The sacral chakra relates to divine feminine, divine masculine. It you know, it's sex as well. It's sexual intimacy. It's vulnerability. It's being seen. it's creation, it's relationships, and it's really is, it can be one of our biggest psychic centers. So we do need to focus on, first of all, the root chakra, the strong identity of who you are. Then taking that powerful energy with up into the sacral chakra to be of service. So Elemental Heal says, I have no relationship with a mother or father. That is okay. I too have had very fragmented relationships through adoption, and it's not been easy. So there's been a lot of trauma for me around mother-father relationships. We are talking about spiritual mother-father relationships. So that's who you can tune into, is the kind of visualization of a spiritual father guide, a spiritual mother, and now the receiving and giving energies. Okay, so let's move on into the questions. So if you guys want to grab a pen or a piece of paper and make some notes around the questions, then we can get into that, and then we'll do some messages from the divine as well. Yeah, that's lovely. So Elemental Heal says, even though she hasn't got a relationship with a mother or father, but since you mentioned mother and father guide, I felt a lot of love and support. Yeah, it's big, and I know it's big about that lack of identity and trying to figure it out yourself when you have no point of reference in this human existence. You know, a lot of our mirror neurons come from our families, you know, and when you don't have that, or you've been, I don't know, rejected, abandoned, or, you know, lost parents, that are there to help us and guide us and give us those mirror neurons so we know who we are. It's very difficult, and you can feel, your identity can be fragmented, but it's not, it just feels that way in the human senses, and you can rebuild that. It starts in the root. So I'd go back and I will keep doing that meditation, and I would work with your mother, father, spiritual guides every day. Every day I would be calling them in. Okay, so questions tonight. So are you enjoying this so far? If you give me a yes or a no. Hopefully not a no, but yeah, just hopefully you shouldn't have asked that question. Should I? Now I've opened myself up to be vulnerable. Susie says yes. Thank you, Susie. Connie says yes. Elemental Heal says yes. Sophie says a massive yes. Yes. Thank you, Kira. And Isabel says yes. I appreciate it. Thank you. So I always get so nervous doing this, and Anita says yes, Gemma says yes, Infinity says yes. Thank you so much. Kira says, grateful I opened up and was guided to this. I'm grateful that you're here. Whenever I do any energy work like this, thank you, Barbara says yes. This week and last week have been so valuable, says Elemental Heals. That's really nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm open to receiving all the love. Thank you so much. Sasori says, amazing. I'm still waking up. I missed last week, but catching up today. Yeah. Thank you, Dee. Fab. Thanks so much. So yeah, I get really nervous doing things like this. You know, you have to get out your own way, and you have to become the channel. End of story. You know, you just have to let go of your kind of human brain trying to work it out, and you have to open up. You open up through the crown to be the vessel, really, of light. But I always do that spiritual connection, mother, father, mother, the two guides, and I teach this on my quantum holographic echo healing course, which I've set a date for now in March. I know a lot of people have been asking me all year when I'm running one, and I haven't been able to get it done. Hello, my son. My son has just joined. Oh, but I'm going to be doing quantum in March. So if you do want to do that, let me know. Send me a DM or type quantum in this if you like. And my gorgeous assistant Isabel, who's on, she will get in touch with you and let you know the details, because that's really amazing. We teach you how to get to the root cause of issues using a pendulum. So are you ready for the questions? Marcus, darling, you can do these questions if you like. Dee says, don't be nervous. You have so much information and you know you're a natural. Thank you, Dee. Appreciate that. So first question. And this is something for you to really ponder on between now and next week and share with me what comes up. So remember, this is a really big one. It's not to be pushed over, or even if we've had great experiences, those experiences in some way have shaped our belief system. It could still be limited, not through trauma, but it could just still be limited because all our belief systems have been passed on to us by those loving people in our lives, or not so loving people in our lives, that have put those in us. So everything we are today can be a construction of the people who've been our main caregivers. So it's worth embracing them and looking at them through a bigger perspective. First question. What emotions or experiences from your childhood still feel unresolved? And how can you create space to nurture and heal your inner child? So your inner child is completely wide-eyed, innocent, full of life and love and laughter and zest for the world. And sometimes life is not ready for that. The people around us are not ready for us as children and our amazing, energetic spirit that we bring forward. And that can get cut down, but we can feel it as being cut down as a 7-year-old child. You know, if you shout at a 7-year-old child, and you know, I'm guilty of this myself, but if you shout at a 7-year-old child when they're potentially so open and so in the flow and so just wide open with their energy, and you tell them, I don't know that I've ever said this, but if you tell them to shut up or stop doing that, or you're just irritating, or now's not the time, why do you always have to be this way, you're a show off, that can close us down. So we could forget about that, but in our subconscious, when we have an invitation in life to be vulnerable, to be larger than life, to really show ourselves, the nervous system will reactivate and say, hey, hang on, this is what happened last time, don't do that again, I've warned you about that, and it'll stop you doing it. So what emotions or experiences from your childhood still feel unresolved, and how can you create and nurture and heal your inner child? One of the best ways I've found to heal my inner child was to dance. Dance in front of a room full of strangers without any alcohol or anything else, and just dance and feel okay about it. That's when I knew, hang on, I'm having a breakthrough here, because I've been so quite rigid up until that point, very stiff in my body, not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to take space, not wanting to be seen or heard, that, my inner child was locked in. And I do remember as a child dancing to Top of the Pops, that's how old I am. And my dad, he was just probably tired, and I'm dancing and singing, and he's trying to listen to the telly and enjoy it, and I'm making noise in the background, shouted me down, and I just remember closing down. I thought, I'm never going to do that again. I'm not allowed to dance or express myself. It's annoying, or I'll get shouted at. So there's like a suppression there that stays, and weirdly stays with you can stay with you all your life until you bring your attention to it and do the things you need to do to get rid of it. So I'll read those comments soon. So the next question, in what ways have you denied yourself the freedom to feel or express your emotions? And how can reconnecting to your inner child help you reclaim that freedom? In what ways have you denied yourself the freedom to feel or express your emotions? And how can reconnecting with your inner child help you reclaim that freedom? So for an example, one of my problem words was no. Saying no to people and having boundaries was quite a big deal that I've had to learn to overcome, especially in business. Finding the voice to say no. So I had a tactic, and my tactic was just to run away. Just to run away from situations, from people, from scenarios where I couldn't say, no, thank you, it's not for me. I just had the people pleaser and the no boundaries and the fear and all of that wrapped up in a pretty box that wouldn't allow me to express my needs and wants. So ask yourself the question, what ways have you denied yourself the freedom to feel or express your emotions? And how can reconnecting with your inner child help you reclaim that freedom? Maybe somebody has the opposite. They don't want to say yes to things or have struggle saying yes. I don't know. But if anything comes up for you with these questions, just share your thoughts. I love to know what's going on for you. Now I'm going to change one of these questions actually. One way I feel to recognize your life's purpose, or who you're here to serve, not who, but how you're here to serve, to be of service, is what experiences did you have as a child that you can now connect to your healing abilities? For example, now this isn't to say everybody should have experienced this so directly, but as a child, my father was very ill and I always tended to him. In fact, I was the best person to tend to him because he would listen to me and he would conform in a way to me as a child. And so I was always kind of called upon to be the one to help him. So in a way that set up potentially that level of me wanting to serve, to be of service. Didn't obviously know that, and that was never in my foresight when I was younger. It's only when I was older and I clicked in, I really want to heal, I want to be of service to people. But I'd lived a life of it for a long time. So what experiences have you ever had? It could have been a death of a pet or something that you've your natural gifts I've just snapped in. It could be that you're able to talk to people, to soothe them with your words. It's something that potentially has happened in your younger years that you can connect now to your divine spiritual gifts. I love that, Kira. Kira's a teacher, and I definitely work on my inner child through singing instruction with the little ones. Love that. Susie says, confidence, putting myself out there is very scary. So think about any experiences that you have as a child that connected you to what you can recognize now as your spiritual gifts or divine purpose. Dee says, I was a listener to friends at school. I seemed to listen to their problems. Amazing. And you feel that is a gift that you're now kind of bringing out. Infinity Light, I was always a good listener and all my friends used to tell me their secrets. But as a child, fear destroyed me, and fear of what people think of me is something that I still work on today. Kelly says, same as D. Yeah. Yeah, so so the Divine Feminine Goddess, I was often alone and abandoned as a child. I felt anger sitting on my shoulder guarding me. Later, as a teenager, I looked after my great-grandmother for a year till her death, and 10 years later... Oh, I can't see the rest. Yeah, it's definitely these experiences that can stay. Kira says, I didn't realise until recently that what I intuitively was doing was stimulating the vagus nerve of the little ones I work with, and therefore helping them find their voice, whereas a child I suppress. Yes, I think that's amazing. Helping them really, it's so soothing, self-soothing when you dance and when you sing. And the work of Wilhelm Reich, let's get that name wrong, where he does the body armouring, whereas children, if we've got like a critical parent, we can often live our lives like this, or our body takes on the shape of our environment, or that the parent or whatever is happening in the environment. Our body armours to protect ourselves, and that's where we can have a lot of aches, pains, stiffness, and just rigidity in the physical body. And there can be trigger points. People work with the trigger points of the body. I can't think of what the name of it is, but where they touch parts of the body, and it can release the trauma that's held there. Kira says, I suppressed that for fear of being annoying. So shrinking to please. Absolutely. So 100%. And I still do that now. It can just really stay with us. I still do that now, and I'm so aware of it still. Datoria says, I could always feel energies in people around me or far away. I didn't realise that the trauma experienced and thought I had forgiven was still affecting me today. Oh gosh, my Divine Feminine Goddess says, my mother tried to kill me when I was 3. I felt it all my life and was only confirmed my sister 10 years ago, potentially. Yes, that is... sorry to hear that. Starseed DJ, recently realised that I have childhood issues. By chance, I clicked this live session and it's about childhood trauma. Oh, hi. Well, welcome, Starseed DJ. So you might want to go back to the beginning to really understand what this live is about. So it is about the inner child. It's about the Sacral Chakra and the divine energies that you can tune into and realise your kind of full potential, really. And last week we worked on the root chakra, which is really, really, really important to solidifying your identity in this world and healing the fragmentation around it. Last question is, what messages does your inner child need to hear most from you right now to feel safe, loved, and supported? So what messages does your inner child need to hear most from you right now to feel safe, loved, and supported? Yeah, we're not surviving, we're thriving. Everything's going to be just fine. You are enough. Yeah, absolutely. The inner child, it's such a deep emotional release when we start to heal the inner child. And what your inner child really needs the most from you is to parent it. Because quite often as adults, when we're still living in our trauma, we don't make adult decisions, and the inner child still feels severely unsafe. So it's really important to do the work on the inner child, and this is in no way enough work. You know, you really have to put the therapy in. If you've experienced trauma, it's so important to go for therapy, proper therapy, and work on healing the inner child and the reparenting and the forgiveness and everything else that needs to go on. It all comes down to how you treat yourself. So your inner child is desperate for the adult version of you to be its parent now. And that's easier said than done. When you have experienced trauma, it's still affecting your nervous system and it's still affecting your choices in life, which sometimes can lead us to chaos because that's what feels most comfortable. So the inner child is such a biggie that it is so important for you to get healing if that feels right, and therapy is healing. So, okay, let me move on to the cards for tonight. Thank you all for your amazing and so open sharing. I really appreciate it. Okie dokie. So let's see where the pendulum wants to take us tonight for the group. Okay, so I'm using my pendulum to find out what question needs to be asked for the group. So this one. So the question is for the divine, what requires effort? Okay. So again, the sacral chakra, the work that needs to be done, the release of it, the work that needs to be done. What requires your effort? Okay, and you got the Tower card. So this is the breakthroughs, the insights. This is the rebuilding of the self, if you like, even the psyche. It's a rebuilding of the psyche. So it's the Great Awakener card, and it comes out quite a lot. It's an amazing card. It's a really wake-up card. It's it gives you the flashes of insight as well from the divine. It's the kind of, you know, psychic breakthroughs, if you like, but it's what requires effort. So this card really is saying that where you need to focus your effort is in what needs to be rebuilt, what needs to be broken down, what needs to be rebuilt. This is such a, you know, a card of chaos, if you like. It's what we thought was home is no longer safe anymore. So what do we do now? So we need to rebuild that home. That can also be depicted as a vessel, if you like. It can be depicted of the inner self, the inner nervous system, the inner spine, the inner home, the inner vessel that is broken down. It can be broken down through trauma and chaos and things out of our control, like, you know, just these things are just out of our control. We've not necessarily caused it ourselves. but this is what requires the effort, and it's not the place that we want to look. Quite often when we have had trauma, we don't really want to look there. But you know the story of Pandora's box, which honestly I've been there. I started my therapy journey when I was about, 18, 19 maybe. It might have even been younger. I started my therapy journey then, and it was, Pandora's box. And I know if, you guys have had trauma, if you've been through therapy, it's not the place that you really want to look, particularly because it's so painful, and your life does shatter down. It has to shatter down to be rebuilt again. But that story about Pandora's box, which is lifting the lid, and all of these horrendous emotions come out, and the one that's left, that really is the most powerful one, is hope. And we go through therapy because we have hope of a better future. And you do have hope of a better future if you are willing to do the work. And it's not about spiritual bypassing the work either. It's not by saying, oh, I'm so, doing all into the healing work, blah, 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 blah. But you're not going there. You're not touching the raw emotions. You're not going in with the shadow. You're not sitting with the shadow. You're not facing all the fucking shit storm of emotions and the way that you feel and the hatred that you might have and the demons that you carry around it with you and in your head, and you're not prepared to face them and to accept them and to know that they're just one part, and you have so many other ways to express yourself. Hope is where humanity can thrive and survive based on that. But first of all, it has to enable itself to open Pandora's box, to purge all the emotions, and then to start the rebuilding. So the Divine Feminine Goddess says, thank you for your card, Tower. My life and my mind have been a chaos. First time in my life I have space and time to look into this chaos. My memories have started to resurface from my childhood, and that's really difficult. And I thank you for sharing that. And I just urge you to have that support network around you that can help you. And if it's therapy, go to therapy. It's the best thing that you can do for yourself is going to therapy, and keep it up. Let me just see if there's anything else. Is there anything else to talk to the group about? No. Okay, so I'm just going to pull one more card before we go. And I hope to see you next week, where we work on the solar plexus, which is a fabulous one. Okay. So we've got the moon card. So this is our subconscious. So in the day, we're living in our solar plexus, in our sun card. And when we go to sleep, we access the subconscious. So be aware of your dreams. Let them come to the surface. If you've got a pen, piece of paper, write them down. Your dreams give you great messages in stories and metaphors and weird pictures and scenarios, but try and figure out the deeper meaning of what your dreams are trying to tell you. And next week, it is all going to be around the ego, which we all need, and it's our drive and our fire. So we've worked on our earth element, we've worked on our water element, and now we're moving up into our fire element. A strong root where you know yourself, your identity is strong. Your sacral chakra, where you know the gifts that you have and the Holy Grail, and it serves you and it serves the divine. And working through the trauma, the childhood trauma, the vulnerabilities, the shame, any sexual issues, sexual trauma, all of that, vulnerabilities and boundaries, saying yes, saying no, all the archetypes of people pleaser and a martyr and all of that, that's a lot, need to be worked through, because all of that energy gets expressed out into the solar plexus, which is our personality. So if we've got fears, if we're still holding on to abandonment, rejection, shame, vulnerability, people pleasing, victim mentality, it all gets projected out into our personality, or rather our persona. Okay, so we create this persona, mask to the world how we want people to perceive us, and that's where imposter syndrome can come in and think, you know, we don't deserve any of the life that we've got. So I will see you next week at 8 o'clock on Instagram, and I hope you've enjoyed tonight's session. Thank you again for your time. I'm enjoying it so far, getting over my own nerves, and thank you so much for sharing all your stories so far. Okay, thank you. Just trying to read some of your comments in case I'm missing. So how to connect to your sacral chakra gift. So go back to the beginning, do that meditation, tune into the divine, the Holy Grail, putting your hands on your sacral chakra, bringing in your spiritual guides and asking, what are my divine gifts? Who and how am I here to serve? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Lots of love. Take care. Bye. Stay amazing. You too. Thank you, Susie. Bye, Soph.